Next up is a project that's fun that anybody can do. We're going to take an ordinary cabinet door and turn it into a work of art. I started off by taking my tissue paper and actually just burning the edges. That way it would have like a more organic kind of look. I could rip it, but I just folded it in half or in fours and just burn the edges. Basically, just burn it, blow it out, burn it, blow it out, tap it a couple times, it'll quit. Pretty simple. The other way you can do it is just tear the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and put down some coordinating paint that kind of coordinates with the tissue paper that I chose, which was that Regal Owl. Isn't he pretty? He's a gorgeous, gorgeous Regal Owl. So I'm just taking some purple chalk paint, laying it on my cabinet door. I was fortunate enough to have a bunch of vintage cabinet doors donated to me at one time. The hardware on these is just sensational. I have many, many signs. But another way is a piece of regular plywood. You could even do this with one of those canvases you get at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Just think of surfaces like old signs. If you go to the thrift store and you see those old home sweet home signs, or those home decor signs that are a couple bucks each, just grab one, paint over it, and make it now into a piece of art. I will link the tissue paper in the bio of this to let you know I do retail all these products. So I've gone ahead and decided to add a little bit of like a chippy look to this. The easiest way to do that is I have a brayer that is a hard surface. So it's a hard surface against another hard surface, basically rolling it on. You can also take a block of wood and skip it along, because the idea is to not let the paint go on full coverage, right? We're just doing the frame. We're just trying to make it look chippy. So the brayer, which is just a hard roller, it's not soft, it is a hard roller. I am just going and layering a bunch of paint colors. Purple, brown, tan. I'm going to add some turquoise here in a minute. And that's the idea, is just to layer up those colors. Get them on there until you come up with something that you like. That kind of coordinates with the actual print that you are using. So let your imagination run wild. This is a really bright turquoise, which is really going to pop this thing. And I'm doing it while the paint is all still wet. I am not cleaning in between. I'm just using the same tool over and over again. So once we get that down, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab the best kind of glue for decoupage that I use, which is Satin Clear Coat by Dixie Belle. I love this stuff. See how it looks purple right there? It really isn't purple. It's actually a top coat sealer that you use on furniture. But what it does in this instance is way better than Mod Podge. I don't like Mod Podge at all. This stuff is awesome because it gives us a little bit of workability time, right? It gives us enough time to move the paper without ripping it and getting it to where we want it on our piece, right? We can adjust it, we can move it, and it's thicker, so it takes a little bit longer to dry. I'm going to then use just a big brush that I have that's dry with nothing on it to help smooth it out. This helps me to not rip my tissue paper. The tissue paper that I have available, and I do retail tissue paper, is an 18-pound tissue paper, which is the best kind that you can get because it's thicker and it does not tear. Be very careful when buying tissue paper to make sure that it's actually at least 18-pound tissue paper. That's the weight of the tissue paper. A lot of the tissue paper you see now, like on Amazon and stuff, is 10-pound, and as soon as you put it down, you'll rip it. And it's like applying a napkin. So just be careful and get a thicker tissue paper. Like I said, I have probably at least 50 designs on my website, and they change daily. So if you can't find the owl, I have tons of designs. You can use whatever design you want. So I'm going to put that down, and then I'm going to it's all glued down. I'm going to go right over the top with this Dixie Belle Satin Clear Coat, and I'm going to seal this in. What this does is provide a protective layer. So now this thing is protected against all the elements. So it goes on kind of an opaque color. It does take a hot minute to dry because the paper now is saturated, and it will take an hour or so for the paper to cure and to dry. And that's what we want. We want it to just cure and to dry, and then it'll just dry clear. It will no longer look purple. Now I decided to take an extra step with this one. I decided that I wanted a little more pizzazz. It's kind of hard to tell on this because I gotta say the color isn't showing up as bright as the actual piece is. So I am taking a gold leaf adhesive sizing is what it's called. And it is a liquid material that you stick on and you brush it on areas. It's going to be wet at first, it's going to dry, and it's going to be tacky. So right now it's liquidy. It takes probably 20 to 30 minutes for it actually to dry. That is when we will apply the gold leaf. If you've never done gold leaf before, it's very fun, but it is extremely messy. I've done gold leaf applications on entire dresser fronts, and believe me, it's like glitter. You just find it for weeks after. So make sure you do it in an area that you can vacuum up around you when you're done, because like I said, it's just like glitter. You'll find it everywhere. But you can't beat the look that it gives. So I'm kind of just randomly putting some areas that I think the gold leaf will be cool. I'm trying not to make them uniform. I'm kind of just stroking them on so they look more natural, kind of like somebody's gonna throw some gold leaf on it, and just not really taking a ton of time. Now the gold leaf, actually I bought my gold leaf and my sizing at Amazon. That's one thing I don't carry. Comes in sheets. What you do is when your sizing or your adhesive has dried, and you can tell it changes colors and it's dry, you apply the sheets of gold leaf over the top, taking just a plain like paintbrush and like a throwaway paintbrush and just kind of patting it on. It's the gold leaf just sticks to your hands. I mean, it is sheets of, it's not real gold, it's just like thin foil sheets, and it will just disintegrate. So you just kind of have to practice laying it out and patting it. So sometimes you'll use a lot of sheets, sometimes you won't use that many. And wherever you would put the adhesive sizing down on the piece, the gold leaf will stick to. So you really don't know how it's going to look until you start sticking it down. Now the brush will help to dust away any of the leftover pieces, and this is where the glitter effect comes in, because like I said, it just breaks into a million tiny pieces. You really can't see it on film, and it'll be everywhere, but it is well worth it. So just take your time, put a little bit down at a time. I have done huge walls with this, and just beautiful things with gold leaf. So play with it and have fun. And the idea, actually, it looks better when you just kind of sporadically apply it and make it look more organic and natural on your piece. So we're gonna just, it's adding just that little bit of pizzazz to this fine gentleman, Mr. Owl. And it really, really, really added so much depth to this guy. It's crazy how much better the entire sign, plaque, whatever you want to call, wall decoration looked after we added the gold leaf. So as you can see, it's just like this, it's almost like a feather. And try to keep it on the paper as much as you can, because once you take it off and you touch it, it just disintegrates. It's a super fine material. I don't know how they make it or what it's made of. It's not like foil, like aluminum foil. It's just super thin. It's as light as a feather. It floats away, and wherever you touch it, you can tear it into a million pieces. And wherever you touch it down, if there is adhesive there, it'll stick to it. So basically you just keep sticking it on until it doesn't stick anymore. And that means then that you have applied it to all the areas. If for some reason you didn't do enough after you've got it all down, you can go back and do it again. See how it just kind of goes wherever we had the stuff. Now the brush will help to remove whatever excess is there, because if it's extra big, it won't stick unless you put the adhesive sizing down. Hope this makes sense. So I will just eventually just brush it all away, and whatever is extra will be gone. It'll fly away into my workshop to get into everything else that I do for the next 3 weeks. I will find gold leaf specks and top coats and in paint, and I'll be like, oh my gosh. So I try to, like the little chip brush that I'm using, I try to just use it for gold leaf, because if I ever grab it again and use it for a top coat or paint, it'll have nothing but gold flecks in it. I have bought various gold leaf from various retailers on Amazon, and I gotta say they're all pretty much the same. The more expensive ones are not any nicer than the cheaper ones. I usually buy a pack that has a variety of colors, gold, silver, copper. But I tend to really like the gold the best. I don't know why. I just tend to be drawn to the warmth of the gold. Now after this is done, if the gold is too bright, you could apply like a dark wax over the top to tone it down a little bit, either in a black or a dark brown, because sometimes the gold leaf can be a little shiny, right? Too much for some people. But I must say, it just looks totally natural when you get it down into all the little places. And you can see on your piece where you put the adhesive sizing. So you really don't have to guess. And if you can't figure it out, just run your hand over it. Wherever it's sticky, that's where the stuff is. So you're just going to go ahead and keep applying gold leaf and tapping it down, because when you're all said and done, it's going to be this gorgeous, one-of-a-kind piece of art that you created. And it's a great reuse of old cabinet doors, of old pieces of wood. Like I say, those old home decor signs that just don't fit your decor, upcycle them. Don't get rid of them. Use them as your base. You know, it doesn't have to be a cabinet door. Not at all. I have so many of those old, and I see them at the thrift store all the time, decor signs. You know, like they say welcome or hello or family is forever or whatever they say, that they don't fit in your decor anymore. Use those. They're usually in pretty good shape, and you've already got a base, and then you can buy something for a couple bucks and then throw this on there, and then next thing you know, you've got this work of art. Like this, I was lucky because this is a vintage, probably circa 1950s cabinet. And I don't think I show a picture of it, but the hardware on it, there is hardware on one side of the door, the hinges. They're like this beautiful scalloped hardware that I did take and highlight, so it really highlighted on the piece the vintageness of it. Oh, it's just super cool. I'm always looking for things like that, always, to add to my collection, so that way I can repurpose them and make them pretty. I will post a picture, and unfortunately it's not going to be the best because of course I took it as a horizontal, a vertical view, not a horizontal view, and on YouTube they like them to be horizontal. But anyhow, I will post a picture and it'll be on the album cover of this one. So I just went ahead and kept going and added my gold leaf, and when I was done, boy, he shined like a diamond. Very pretty. So please subscribe to my channel. My name's Debbie Tona with Tona Transformations. Thanks for watching.